Evening, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube pipe community. Lewis coming at you. For posterity's sake, smoking some tobacco in a cob. And I'm frustrated. This is a frustrated YABO. Most YABOs are supposed to be very happy YABOs. This is a frustrated YABO. Go figure. I opened the box already, so there we go. I used this. What'd I get? I got a lot of stuff. I might actually smile a little bit. Okay, to start off with, a lot of bulk from Pipes and Cigars. They had to sell for $2 an ounce. A lot of aromatics, some others. 4 ounces, lane 1Q. Good stuff, can't go wrong. Four ounces, Sutliff Coconut Almond. You know I like them arrows. 4 ounces of Pina Colada. 4 ounces of Sutliff Honey, just to keep it simple. Four ounces of Peach Cobbler. Also got 4 ounces of Light English. I really like that stuff. And that hasn't arrived yet. And I got a pound of Best of the Rest. Lots of stuff. What else I get? Well, pipeandleaf.com had a really good sale going on. They had a lot of clearance items. And so I stocked up. Drew Estate Central Park Stroll, Harvest on Hudson. Hell, I'm putting this down. Grand Central, some CAO Cherry Bomb, shiny. Some Eric Stokeby 4th generation, that's 1982. One of these is a Virginia, the other's an aromatic. And 1957. Now, so far I haven't had any of these. I also got 8 ounces of Golden Days of Yore, because why not? This is Kendall American Delight. American Delight. Cool. It's an aromatic too. Savinelli Brunello Flake. And I like this because of the name. Me and my wife went to Tuscany on our honeymoon and brought back some Brunello wines. It's a pretty neat area. Some Pete's Beard blend. Some Rattray's Summer Edition. That's fancy. Tin's not worth a bean though. Same goes for Sillam's Green. Lot of aromatics in this batch, guys. A lot of aromatics. Some English, might stock up on more. And let me tell you why. So far, I'm sure very many of you have heard of the deeming regulations. Well, those are FDA's deeming regulations, and those are no longer deeming. They are just regulations. In fact, they take effect in 90 days, less than 90 days now. So basically, the Food and Drug Administration decided that they would take it upon themselves to regulate tobacco. Tobacco and really any nicotine-containing substance. They think that it's their lane now. So what did they try and do? Basically, they set a national regulation. You have to be 18 years old. I think it's been that way for quite a while now. But also, they said that you can no longer give away free samples of tobacco. That means your brick and mortar can't give you any samples of tobacco, But this also goes into effect for the cigar and pipe tobacco reps at trade shows. But also, a cigar rep can't give a brick and mortar owner a sample of a cigar to try out if they're purchasing a new product. So imagine if you're a brick and mortar owner having to stock a product that you know nothing about. Either that or you have to pay a pretty good price for it. Sometimes the desire to want to stock those products isn't going to be there. But more importantly, the FDA decided to force all tobacco and vape products that have not only been created, but also just changed in terms of composition or even just marketing their label alone to register their product with the FDA. And they have 3 different lanes of doing this, but the way that the FDA says that these tobaccos should be registered, basically they haven't accepted those applications in I believe less than 50% of cases. And also, leading on to this, there's the potential for the FDA to regulate internet sales of tobacco. That's a problem, clearly. So certain groups have tried to pass legislation to make exemptions for pipe tobacco and premium cigars, but those haven't passed so far. And the FDA decided to go with the most aggressive option, basically to regulate all forms of nicotine-containing products. So why is this happening? Why is it a problem? And what does it mean for pipe smokers? So why is it happening? Basically, vape products are pretty much totally unregulated, and you have mom and pop stores putting together concoctions that could contain God knows what. But there are also certain products claiming to be one thing, but that are actually another. For example, when clove cigarettes were banned, they started calling themselves flavored filtered cigars. These little mini cigars, Jarums, for example. And then you have these large, cheap bags of roll-your-own cigarette tobacco being marketed and sold as pipe tobacco, though we know better. So the FDA says that not regulating these products poses a huge negative impact to the public health. But, really, does it? I understand only about 20% of the U.S. population uses any form of tobacco product, even just intermittently. But think about the presence of these new vape companies and roll-your-own cigarette tobacco. Those make the consumption of nicotine a hell of a lot cheaper than stocking up on Marlboros. And my understanding is that Philip Morris, for example, has been a big proponent of this legislation. Philip Morris owns Marlboro, Virginia Slims, Benson and Hedges, Merit, Parliament, Alpine, Basic, Cambridge, Bucks, Dave's, Chesterfield, Collector's Choice, Commander, English Ovals, Lark, L&M, and Players, all cigarette brands. So as the market stands, Big Tobacco has a lot to lose, and they have a lot of money to line pockets. So what's the problem exactly? So now we have legislation that could potentially eradicate thousands of competitor products. And that means every cigar and every pipe tobacco blend that has changed their labels or changed component tobaccos or simply been created after the arbitrary date of 2007 has to go through a long, drawn-out, super expensive process to register with the FDA. And they have to do that within 2 years. And basically, the FDA confirmed that all required applications could cost, and I quote, cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per application. But they haven't even set out a fee schedule yet. So, that could be, hundreds of thousands of dollars per product. So what does that mean to us as pipe smokers? As you can imagine, Boswell's, Cornell and Deal, McClelland, McBaron, your local brick and mortar, not even the biggies like Lane and Sutliff, have the scratch to afford to register all of the products that have come out or changed since 2007. That would cost multiple millions of dollars, probably per company. But while this legislation barely touches existing cigarette companies, those companies do have the kind of money if they need to fight anything. Ultimately, this means that thousands of products will likely come off the market altogether, cigars and pipe tobacco both. And they'll simply cease to exist because the companies aren't going to be able to afford to sell them. And companies like Scandinavian Tobacco Group out of Denmark probably won't want to do business with U.S. businesses because of all the red tape. In fact, my local B&M doesn't get much money from pipe tobacco, but it is worried about their cigar sales because they'll predict they'll lose about 60% of the products in their humidor. That is freaking huge. And especially in a town like here, we're in Augusta, this is Gulf City. You can imagine the amount of people that go in and buy cigars, every weekend. And basically, the money that it costs to register the products that do remain has to come from somewhere. So as you can imagine, that Lane 1 queue that you should have stocked up on later just got much more expensive. And it's bad enough that states like Washington and Florida tax tobacco so heavily. In fact, Florida in one area is 85% for pipe tobacco. That's incredible. And no wonder people buy online. But the U.S. is eventually going to get to the point where Canada and Australia are getting taxed so heavily that a pack of Captain Black's going to run you $40. I mean, really. Ultimately, the Food and Drug Administration is indirectly regulating your rights to smoke to death. And fortunately, we do have groups like the IPCPR, that's the International Pipe and Cigar people who sell pipes and cigars, and Cigar Rights of America are trying to fight this regulation. On Cigar Aficionado, I read that bills HR 662 and Senate 441 exempting premium cigars and pipe tobacco continue to gain co-sponsors as we pursue a legislative solution to unneeded and harmful government intrusion. That sounds well and good. And Congress still has the power to enact previous riders proposed by the House Appropriations Committee last month. And those riders would basically cut funding to the FDA to regulate premium cigars and push the predicate date from February 15th, 2007 to 2016. And the FDA says that this is going to cause big problems in national health. So they vehemently are opposing these riders. And, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm taking a lot from CigarAficionado.com. I'll put a link in the description. So guys, really start writing and calling your state representatives, your government officials, congressmen, congresswomen, and politely explain to them that this regulation just doesn't differentiate pipe tobacco and cigars from incredibly harmful cigarettes. But it also has a capacity to destroy thousands of small businesses, many, many, many lives of whom, people depend on these industries for. And it has a capacity to destroy one of the few remaining American industries. So until a miracle happens, I plan on stocking up heavily, and I suggest you do too. Blessings and smoke rings.